The movie begins by showing a girl named Ruby Rossi who was born into a disabled family. In her family, she is the only family member who was born normal because her dad, Frank Rossi, and her mother, Jackie Rossi, including her older brother, Leo Rossi, are deaf. Because of that, Ruby communicates with her family every day using sign language. On a daily basis, she also helps her father and an older brother who work as fishermen. Besides helping catch fish, Ruby is assigned to receive radio calls on ships and sell the fish caught to fish auctioneers at the port. With so much work she has to do, it often makes her fall asleep during class hours at school because she's tired of helping her family. At school, Ruby is often ridiculed by her friends and is nicknamed the girl who smells like fish because of her job as a fisherman. Not only that, her family background, which is a person with a disability, also makes Ruby even more ostracized at school, which makes her not confident in getting along with other students. Deep down, she felt very embarrassed when she was picked up by her deaf parents at school. At the end of this semester, Ruby decided to take choir lessons for the next semester because, since childhood, she has had aspirations to become a singer even though she has a family background as a deaf person. On the day of enrollment, Ruby's friends also seemed quite surprised that she chose this subject for the next semester. After the new semester started, Ruby joined her first alloy class led by a music mentor named Bernardo Villalobos. In the first class, Bernardo asked all the students who joined his class to sing a song to find out each student's vocal characteristics. All the students then started singing one by one, until when it was Ruby's turn, she was silent and instead chose to leave the class. She felt insecure about her vocal abilities because she was afraid of being ridiculed by her friends who had always liked to make fun of her condition. Ruby, who ran away from class, then chose to calm down by the lake, and she started singing in a melodious voice.
Happy birthday, happy birthday to you.
At night, when she got home, Ruby accidentally saw her parents fighting because of economic problems in their family. In fact, Jackie suggested to her husband to sell the only boat they owned to make some extra money. However, Frank didn't seem to agree with that because the boat was the only family asset used for fishing. The economic condition of her family was further exacerbated because the fish auctioneer announced that all fishermen had to pay a monitoring fee of $800 to guarantee that the fishermen would not violate shipping rules. Arriving at school, Ruby is determined to make her childhood dream come true. Finally, she found the courage to meet Bernardo in the choir practice room. She told him about her worries if she became the object of ridicule by her friends as she had been. Moreover, when she was little, Ruby was ridiculed by her school friends because she revealed her dream of becoming a singer. Luckily, Bernardo forgave Ruby, who had just left music class before. In fact, he also allowed her to join his music class on the condition that she had to prove to him that she deserved to be a singer. Hearing that, she seemed happy. In the following days, Ruby was seen taking the choir class seriously. With encouragement from Bernardo, Ruby slowly gains the confidence to sing in front of her friends.
I've been really trying, baby.
Yes!
Trying to hold back this feeling for so long.
Now we're talking.
In fact, with her singing skills, Bernardo asked her and Miles, one of the choir students in that class, to sing a duet at the inaugural concert later. After school, Ruby was passing by the harbor and accidentally saw Leo, who was being conned by the fish auctioneer. She tries to help Leo, so the fish auctioneer doesn't give them a very low price. Unfortunately, Ruby's good intentions annoyed Leo, so they got into a fight. He thought Ruby had made him look stupid in front of many people, so he felt very embarrassed and offended by her treatment. Frank, who saw his two children fighting, immediately separated them and said their family must always be united. A few days later, Ruby and Miles do duet practice with Bernardo at school. However, they looked awkward and didn't sing together, so he was angry with them. Then he asked them to do a duet practice together outside their practice hours with him. Not long after, their practice was over, and Miles was allowed to go home. Before Ruby left, Bernardo said he was amazed by her unique voice, so he suggested she continue studying at Berklee College of Music. This campus specifically trains musicians to develop Ruby's singing talent. Bernardo said he was ready to help Ruby audition before entering the campus. However, she seemed confused about his offer because her family's economic situation did not support her dream of becoming a singer. Ruby, who was very interested in Bernardo's offer to continue her education in music, tried to talk about her goals with Jackie when they had dinner together. Unfortunately, Jackie, offended by Ruby's aspirations, asked her if she would become a painter if her mother was blind. Even though her mother didn't support her dream, Ruby still chose not to give up on her dream. The next day, Ruby invites Miles to practice duets at her house. After being in her room, they began practicing the duet song they would sing at the school's inaugural concert. Feeling awkward, they decided to practice together without looking at each other. The practice seemed to be going well until suddenly, they heard Ruby's parents copulating, so they both had to stop practicing. After learning that Ruby and her friends were at home, Frank and Jackie apologized because they thought no one was home. Not long after, Miles, who felt awkward, said goodbye to go home. Soon after, Frank tries to prevent Miles from leaving because he thinks that Miles is Ruby's boyfriend. Then he tries to chat and explains to Miles to use protection when Miles is about to have fun with Ruby. Hearing that, she is very ashamed of what her father did, so she immediately asks Miles to come home soon. The next day, Ruby was seen at the canteen having lunch during recess at school. When she was waiting in line to get food, suddenly, some of her friends called her and started to act out what her father had done to Miles before. Hearing that, everyone is making fun of Ruby. Because she was angry, she chose to leave the cafeteria. Miles, who saw this, tried to catch up with her and apologize because he only wanted to share his funny experiences with his friends. Hearing this explanation, Ruby became even angrier because she felt she was being looked down on by Miles. Then she chose to leave him alone in the school's corner. Feeling that her life is always being ridiculed by her friends, Ruby is determined to become a successful singer. Because of that, she visited Bernardo to accept his offer, who recommended she enroll in Berklee College of Music. In preparation for her training for the campus audition, Ruby couldn't focus on her practice because she kept thinking about various problems in her life. Bernardo encourages her and invites her to do relaxation movements to let go of all the thoughts bothering her. One day, the fishermen staged a demonstration against the fish auctioneers because of a new regulation that requires all fishermen to pay a fairly expensive monitoring fee. Frank, who was annoyed with the rule, finally tried to express his opinion. Assisted by Ruby as his translator, Frank said that he would sell his own fish without going through the port because the port often buys fish caught by fishermen at very low prices, so the fishermen do not have enough money to pay for the new monitoring system. Hearing this, all the fishermen agreed and intended to join him. The next day, Frank and his family started a fish auction business. They started renting space and distributing flyers to people. The business ran smoothly, making it difficult for Ruby to allocate time to help support her family's business and practice vocals with Bernardo in preparation for the entrance exam for new students at Berklee College of Music. Ruby, who was often late for vocal practice, made Bernardo angry and disappointed because she could not be disciplined. She tries to persuade him to keep helping her practice and promises to come on time. Bernardo finally decided to give her one more chance. One day, when Ruby was about to leave for vocal practice at Bernardo's house, Jackie suddenly asked her not to go because she had to become a translator in an interview that was to be conducted by a TV station that would cover her family's fish auction. At first, she refused, but Ruby was finally forced to help him because there was no interpreter for the deaf provided by the TV station. During the interview, Ruby looked very sad and kept thinking about the vocal exercises she should do. After the interview was over, she rushed to Bernardo's house. Unfortunately, he had been completely disillusioned by Ruby, who kept showing up on time for vocal practice. In fact, he also did not open the door of his house for her. While at school, Ruby tries to find Bernardo to apologize for her mistake yesterday. She asked him to give her one more chance to practice vocals in preparation for the Berklee College of Music audition. However, Bernardo, who was really angry, didn't want to train her anymore because she couldn't be disciplined to train. At night, Ruby tried to talk to her parents about her desire to continue studying at Berklee College of Music. She hopes her parents can understand and support her dream of becoming a singer. Unfortunately, Frank and Jackie forbade her from continuing her studies because they needed her as a translator for the fish auction business they were building. Ruby says she doesn't want to be a translator all her life because she has her own dream. Feeling disappointed with her family, she revealed that her family had never thought about her feelings all this time. The next day, Ruby, who was still angry, deliberately did not go sailing with her family to catch fish, even though that day they were going to conduct an interview with the government. On the other hand, Ruby goes with Miles to the lake to get rid of the sadness and disappointment that she is experiencing. She also asks him to jump into the lake from the top of a cliff to make amends for him before. At that time, she looks happy to play with Miles because she can forget her problems for a moment. At the same time, Frank and Leo seem to have difficulty communicating with the woman assigned to interview their family, because she assigned does not know that Frank and his family are deaf. During the interview, suddenly, the ship's radio beeped and a group of guard ships stopped his ship.
Sir, stand up. Drop the pick. Stand up.
When Ruby returned home in the afternoon, her family blamed her for not going on a cruise with them that day, causing her family's sailing license to be suspended by the authorities. Hearing that, Ruby is getting hurt and feels that it's not her fault. On the day of the trial, the authorities notified Frank that he must pay a fine of $250,000 for the violations committed. The judge tells him that he must bring at least one hearing person to help him on board if Frank wants to make the return voyage. With a very expensive fine, Frank plans to sell his ship. At dinner, Ruby, who saw her family in trouble, revealed that she would accompany her family to sail again and forget about her dream of studying at Berklee College of Music. When Leo discovered this, he suddenly looked angry at her, who his parents had always relied on, and left the dinner table. After dinner, Jackie learned that Ruby was sad because she had to give up her dream of attending Berklee College of Music. Because she felt guilty about Ruby, she tried to go to Ruby's room and gave her a dress for Ruby's first concert at school. Jackie explained that since she discovered that Ruby was born normal, she was afraid that she would disappoint Ruby because of her deficiency as deaf. After hearing her mother's explanation, Ruby hugged her mother because she felt guilty for not trying to understand her mother's condition all this time. On another occasion, when Ruby went to her older brother to apologize, Leo seemed angry with her because, after her arrival, her parents always relied on her in everything and never listened to him even though he really wanted to show that he was as reliable as he should be normal people. Leo added that even when he is deaf, that doesn't make him stupid. Sometime later, Ruby's first concert was held at school, and all parents were invited to attend the concert, including her family. When the concert was held, everyone was amazed by their appearance. When Ruby and Miles sing a duet song, Frank sees the other audience members being carried away by the strains of the song his daughter is singing, so he is curious about the song's meaning. When Frank got home, he asked Ruby about the meaning of the song she was singing and asked her to sing it again. After seeing her sing the song again and knowing the meaning of the song, Frank was visibly moved and hugged her. In the morning, Frank suddenly woke Ruby, who was still asleep, and asked her daughter to get ready to leave. Because of her singing last night, Frank finally decided to support her studies at Berklee College of Music. Together with Jackie and Leo, Frank escorted Ruby to the campus to register. On the way, she felt happy and didn't expect that day her father would invite her to go to her dream campus. After completing registration, Ruby entered the campus hall to do a singing audition as the last test she had to do. When she went on stage, she was very nervous because she didn't bring the sheet music she was going to perform, making the examiners look uninterested in her musical talent. Luckily, Bernardo came and asked the examiners for permission to be the pianist who accompanied Ruby in singing. Because of that, she regained her confidence, especially after seeing her family in the audience. During the audition, Ruby sang while doing sign language so her family would understand the meaning of the song she was singing.
You leave 'em laughing when you go from give and take, and still somehow I really don't know love at all.
After her audition, Frank hires an interpreter to help him communicate with others and catch fish in the ocean. With his persistence, his family's fish auction business is growing rapidly. At the same time, Ruby and Miles' relationship seems to be getting closer, and they often spend time together relaxing by the lake. A few days later, students who passed the Berklee College of Music audition were announced via email. With her family, Ruby looked very nervous when she opened the email from her dream campus. After seeing that she had passed the audition, they were very happy. After that, Ruby immediately met Bernardo to share the good news. Bernardo, as her mentor, also feels proud because she can finally realize her dream of becoming a singer. With her acceptance at the Berklee College of Music, Ruby had to go to Boston and leave home. At the end of the movie, the atmosphere of emotion is clearly illustrated when Ruby says goodbye to all her family members before she leaves for Boston for a while. The moral that can be learned from this movie is that we must not give up on circumstances to make our dreams come true.